Cool. So yeah, a little bit of an introduction to what we're doing today. So the LegitFit Sessions, this is like a new series of talks that we're doing. We're welcoming partners and friends of LegitFit to offer advice and guidance to help make your fitness business the best it can be. So this week, from Monday to Thursday, we're joined by people and businesses, starting here with Nicky today, sharing sales and growth strategies for your fitness business. My name's Tom. I'm the Strategic Partnerships Manager here. Another one coming in. Here at LegitFit. So over the last 12 months, we've been teaming up with some key industry figures to create this kind of network of support for our customers and for theirs. It's kind of our way of, I guess it's a way of us kind of helping out in the areas that we can't, basically. So the purpose of this, as you'll kind of gather from the title, is looking forward to 2023. And I don't want to bring the mood down, but it's not exactly rosy right now. I think a lot of people will appreciate that. So we want to help prepare you to tackle it head on. So just a bit of a background how we arrived to this as well. So like Nicky's presentation today is a really good example of basically there was a survey I read the other week about there's one major business objective in the industry, and that is to reach or at least return to profitability post-COVID. So I'm sure a lot of you today are kind of on that journey back to recovery. And that's something that Nicky kind of strives in his day-to-day business to achieve for his clients. So him and his team educate and use their kind of vast experience to coach fitness professionals to become solid business owners so they can support the growth of themselves, their team, their clients, and their life. Nicky, I know you've got a little bit of a bio at the start of your presentation, so I'll leave that to you, if that's all right, rather than kind of getting you to introduce yourself now. I will hand over to Nicky in a moment, but just to run through the housekeeping side of things, if anyone is unfamiliar with Google Meets, just along the bottom, just the icons, you've got your microphone on and off, same with your camera. The two little C's, there's a little caption, so you can run captions if you're struggling with sound or anything. And then the little hand is to raise your hand. So if Nicky had any questions around, you know, how many of you are doing this at the moment, you can literally press the button and it allows you to virtually raise your hand. And then just along the bottom right, for those who weren't here just a little bit earlier on, the little speech bubble icon will allow you to open a message box and you can type in there. So if you've got any questions that come up as we're going along, just drop it in there and we'll try and pick it up at the end. That's pretty much it. I will leave things over to Nicky now. Yeah, fire away and we'll come back at the end.
Thanks a lot, Tom. First of all, it's a pleasure and honor to be presenting to you guys, and thanks LegitFit for putting this on. You can't get enough of these kind of support mechanisms in business. Everybody needs it. It's not a game that you can win on your own. You definitely need a team, and that's both internal and external. There's different problems, different challenges all the time in business, as you'll see as we come along. So here's what I'd say with all of these presentations. There's going to be a lot of information, and it will be recorded. You probably want to watch it over again and then break down the chunks and then think about, okay, what action points can you actually take? Now, with all presentations or learnings, it's impossible to do everything. So it's probably just best to do what you can do now, make this the next steps in your business, and then go back maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year, and watch it again and do it again, because you'll be in a different position in your business at that time. But the key thing with business success,
I think we've lost him. He was having trouble earlier. If he continues to have problems, and we have got a Zoom link we can share, we can all go to that. But I think it is Nicky's end with Google Meets. I'm hoping he doesn't have to keep dropping off and coming back in. But we have got a Zoom link which we might have to refer to. I know it's a little bit of upheaval, but might be the way forward. Apologies. Yeah, I think he'll come back. Hopefully it's not something we have to keep doing. I have got the Zoom link ready.
just, hey, you guys back? I'm back.
Yeah. Nicky, should we give it a little bit longer? We can try that Zoom link. Otherwise, we might have to jump over to that.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll give it one more go. Can you add me as a presenter again? Or
yeah,
can I do it on my side? Don't know what happened there. Okay, got it.
I'm just gonna find you again.
Okay. All right, you guys can all see that? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
You guys there? Okay, cool. So started on the gym floor. My first attempt really at business failed, and up until that point, the only thing I was really learning was to become better technically at my craft. And I learned quickly that that wasn't enough if I wanted to go and make a business out of this, right? So I kind of changed my thinking. I changed my strategy, and I stopped learning how to become better technically, and I moved more into like learning about, okay, how am I going to build a business? Basically, how am I going to build a living, right? Because this is a great industry. I loved it, but the problem is it was challenging to financially support a life, right? So when I moved over to learning about the business side of stuff, it kind of made a massive difference to my career and my life, right? Fast forward a few years, I used that information, successfully built and sold a personal training studio as an ongoing concern to a client for multiple six-figure. Lots of lessons along the way. It wasn't perfect by a mile. I was fortunate to write or co-author a book called The Fit Formula. And the reason I wanted to share this was because anyone that knows me, I can't spell to save my life. There's grammar errors all over my work, but I didn't let it stop me, right? And this is key to business success, right? There's going to be lots of stuff that you're not very good at, but you can't let that stop you from trying to make it in the industry or better your life, right? There's always a way. There's always a way to do stuff. It's just about finding that way to actually overcome any barriers you have to move to the next step. I set up the Business Development Academy in 2017. And this just happened by chance. I never went into this industry to be a business coach. It was always going to be a personal trainer. But after I'd sold my business, I had one client or one person ask me how I did it. One became two became four. And before you know it, here we are 5 years, 6 years later. And we have like 5 business coaches and helped hundreds of fitness professionals develop a sustainably profitable business. And the key thing here is sustainability. Okay, so what we're not trying to do is to create profit just one time. It's like, how can we sustain that profit so every single month you're getting the same again and again and again? And that's what we try to do with business. And that's what I did with my own PT business. That was the biggest issue. It was you'd have months where it's great and then 3 months which is really bad. And it was just stress, right? Stress. It's hard to plan life with that financial model. So in my own business, I was like, I got to change this. I got to figure out how every month I can make a great living, but more than I would at work, but it's got to be consistent. And they're the kind of systems we put in place from a financial perspective to help personal training studios, gyms, Pilates studios to do that, right? These are some of the businesses we have helped. You may know some of them. All of them came with no profit at the start, you know, and they're at different sizes, some out of church halls, some own multiple gyms. It doesn't matter how big it is. The problems are the same, right? There's not enough profit. Okay, there's more expenses as you grow, and it's something that hopefully this presentation can help you with as we go through it, right? So what are the core issues that most fitness businesses face, right? So these are what we see all the time. As I've just said, they struggle to make enough profits to sustain enough energy and desire to stay in the business long enough, and 2, enough profits to grow the business, right? Most fitness business owners work endless hours, and this was me before I had adrenal fatigue. It was like get up at 5:30, you know, first client at 6 or 6:30, all the way till 9 at night. And at the start, it's brilliant, right? You think this is the way to do it as a PT, but as you start to build your business, that's just not going to happen. Eventually, you're just going to burn out, and you kind of lose the mojo for your business, and it's just like surviving rather than thriving, right? Oh, I lost you. Is everyone there? Okay, we're still here. Good. Just and here's the bigger problem is like fitness business owners kind of don't know what to do, so they keep doing the same thing but expecting a different result. Now, I would say this: like, working hard is a prerequisite to any success in business, right? But it'll only take you to a certain level, right? At a certain level, you have to work smart, blended in with your hard work. Otherwise, you're going to get to a certain level, and that's it, right? And typically it varies, but I would say like the barrier is really when you get to about 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 a month, you probably need to start working more smart. The clients that we have at the top doing 50, 60, 70,000 a month, it's their hard work blended with smart work, right? Up until 8K, you can probably get away with just working hard as you go along. But here's what's possible if you get everything right. You definitely have increased profits, and you have a better lifestyle for you and your family. And that's the key thing, right? Is a better lifestyle for you and your family. This can be a great business. As I said, it's like one of the only businesses I know where we get to make massive impact on people's lives. But we do need to make an impact on our own life first. And I would say that put your own oxygen mask on first. I'll paint the picture. If your personal economics were taken care of, like how much better could you help people, right? And the answer is loads, right? But you have to take care of yourself first for you really to play the game of business at a high level, right? You can have a reduction in in hours worked in your business, but without it affecting your business. Now, what I mean by that, right now, if you left your business, it probably would have a negative effect. But if the right things are put in place and the right training and the right tools and the right systems, then when you leave the business, it has no effect. There's nothing nicer than going away on holiday and one of your coaches selling and marketing and another coach coaching, and you're retaining the profits, right? But that's what you're trying to set up. You're trying to set it up so you don't actually have to do anything. You've got all the tools and everyone else is doing it for you while you take some time away from the business, right? As I've said, when it's done right, you get to impact more people. And I call this like the ripple effect. And it's something I learned when I had my PT studio. And even now when I'm business coaching is you will have to step up. So I don't know where you all are, but like when you're training clients, you can only help so many clients, right? However, if you have staff and you can better that staff member, then you have leverage, right? So you can help more clients. You start getting 2, 3, 4, 5 trainers, then how many people can you actually help? That ripple effect is massive, right? But you have to elevate yourself up in your business for that to happen. You may not directly work with clients, but you will be working with staff to make them better so they can actually help more people, right? And then finally, like you create a profitable business that actually works for you rather than you working for it. So before I go into the finance part of it, there are 4 foundational fitness business success principles that I want to go over. And think about this like the iceberg theory, right? A lot of the times you don't see the unsexy, dirty work that goes on, or the principles required for a successful fitness business. You'll just see the end goal, right? I think these are really key to implement and think about before you start building your business. And principle number 1 is the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? So today we are really going to be talking about the green ring, which is the financials and KPIs. But I have to stress this, it doesn't work on its own, right? There are other things in your business that you need to work on. They all interlink, all have an effect on each other, right? So the 5 rings around the outside is kind of how we work at FBDA. It's like, okay, what do we actually need to make sure all of our clients, which are gyms and personal training studios, what do they actually need to improve? And it's like, they need to understand how to create customers or marketing and sales. They need to know how to develop a team if they're going to grow a business, right? They need to understand financials and KPIs and kind of what the business is telling them through numbers. They're going to need to improve their leadership skills and management skill as the business grows. And that's ongoing, right? The bigger your business grows, you need different levels of leadership and management skills as you go along. The learning never stops. And then also like the service delivery, that's another thing. As your business grows, and if you guys have a team, remember when it's just you on and training your team, you can deliver your service a certain way. As soon as you get a trainer, then there's a disconnect, right? Unless you have a methodology or a set system for the trainer to follow, right? So again, as you grow, the service needs to get simpler and it needs to make a difference, right? So everything has an effect on everything. Principle number 2 is the road to success is never sexy. we we only see what people's perceptions of their business is. Now, at the FBDA, we get to see hundreds, if not 200-300 profit and loss sheets on a yearly basis, so we can actually see what's going on in the background. What do the numbers look like versus what people are portraying on social media about their gyms, right? Hands down, the most successful businesses that we see from a profitable point of view, from a time point of view, from a purpose point of view, these clients do the unsexy work. They do the unsexy work, like tracking their numbers, managing their finances, doing their budgets, and it doesn't look like they're doing well on social or anything like that, right? So principle number 2 is don't be fooled by what you see. It's not real, right? It's not real, right? The most successful businesses that we see, you hardly ever hear about them that much, right? They haven't got the shiniest kit or the biggest gyms, but they've got the most profitable gyms because they do the unsexy work. Principle number 3 is play the game of business at the level you're at. And I just wanted to use this picture of a little kid down a bowling alley with the safety rails on, because as growth costs money, time, and energy. Okay, and it can be very, very risky if you don't know what you're doing. So I think when you're growing any business, you have to think of it like a karate belt system. I don't know the exact order, but you have like white belt, blue belt, orange, and so on, all the way up to black belt. The problem is people try to take shortcuts. Everyone wants to be a black belt yesterday, and in business, what that tends to be is bankruptcy. Okay, you'll kind of you'll miss the learning that you need at every level to really survive at black belt, and that causes massive issues. So here's what I would say: is just, it doesn't matter what level of business you're at. Your only goal is to get to the next level, and the kind of strategies and tactics that you use should just be focused on that. Okay, it is you versus you. You can't compare yourself to any other business. They'll have a whole different thought process. They'll have a different budget. They'll have a different way of thinking. Some will be more established than you, so you can't copy or mimic what they're trying to do. It just won't work for your business, right? But if you just play the game of business, that, okay, just get me to the next level, just get me to the next level, then I guarantee you, if you look at it over 5 to 10 years, you will be financially set. But it is the hardest thing to do, right? Because everyone wants to take shortcuts. But I always say on my trainings is every shortcut leads to a long cut. Every time you try to go too quick or quicker than your skill can handle, then you're going to be taking 3-4 steps back. It'll break down and you have to start again anyway, right? So just play the game of business at the level you're at. It's much more fun that way as well. It's less stressful, right? Principle number 4 is there's a hierarchy to business skills development. And I'd say right at the start of your journey, just like I did, you got to master your craft. I think that's important. Can you build a fitness business without mastering your craft? You can, but it's an exception to the rule. I would say like pretty much you should master your craft first, because what you're really doing is building a team of experts. And as you're building your team of experts, they're going to look to you as to be the bigger expert. Okay, they're going to need your help. I know with my own team, both in my personal training business and this business, like when there was things that my coaches did not know, they came to me, right? So I need to always be bettering myself at the craft, at my own craft. Well, once you do that, sales and marketing probably come next, or how to acquire customers. Now, these are all learnable skills. I say with sales and marketing, there's no magic in it. There's just, if you can learn the basic core principles and just go with them, you'll be good, right? You do not need to be a mega expert in each one of them, but you do need to find what works for you. So as an example, I have a certain way of I like selling, and it's different from, let's say, another company. That's fine, it works for me. Whatever works for you, but I've taken the same core principles of like how it works, and I've made it work for me, right? Same with marketing, right? I've learned a lot, but I only use a few parts to actually make my business tick. So you just got to find what works for you, right? You do not need all of it. You do not, and that's the biggest mistake that a lot of people make. I kind of subscribe to the Bruce Lee thought of, I don't fear the man that knows 10,000 kicks. I fear the man that has practiced one kick 10,000 times, right? And it's the same in marketing and selling. Now, this is where a lot of businesses get stuck. So if you're trying to build a business to go like 15, 20, 30K a month, then this is where financial management and business development skills really are required, right? Because as your business grows, then your expenses will grow to it. So financial management are absolutely key for the whole thing to stay alive and move forward, right? And then team development and leadership are kind of at the top of this hierarchy, because as you grow your business, you can't do everything, right? Like, business is a team sport. Yeah, you can't win this game on your own, and you have to learn how to work with people, which is the hardest thing of all, right? So I'm gonna make sure you guys are still there. Okay, got you. Okay, so let me go into the financial part of the presentation, and there's kind of 6 steps to setting your business up for financial success, not just in 2023, but moving forward. If you can just ingrain these 6 steps that I go through in your business, that kind of never changes, right? It's like a squat. It never changes, right? It's just like you have variations of it, but a squat is a squat. And these are the 6 things that we need to do, right? So here's the map we use with our clients. Now, you can download this and tools 1 and 2 for free. There'll be a QR code coming up in a short while, or there'll be a link on a following email. But I think it's important you download and keep these tools, because it just gives you like a map of what you guys need to do, right? I'm going to go through in detail each one, but step 1 is really figuring out how much money you really need. Step 2 is like understanding margins, because as you start to develop a business, it's all about the profit margin you make, not the money you're actively making yourself from training customers, right? Step 3 is, do you actually have the business model to support your financial goals? And a lot of people don't work this out. They kind of go, I want to make X amount of money, but there's no real plan. All right, show me the model that can actually get to that goal. Now, the left-hand side of this map is kind of the planning. Steps 1, 2, and 3 are planning. And then steps 4, 5, and 6 are what we call the playing. So as you start to play the game of business, you need to do step 4, which is track your financial numbers. One of the most unsexy parts of business. Most personal trainers absolutely hate it. But guess what? Like, when you ask your clients to track calories, they hate it too, right? But they need to do it, right? And this is why you need to track your financial numbers. It's the same thing. Again, if I go back to the people that we see are the most successful, the best profitability, they track their numbers. They track their finances diligently, and that's why they make profit, right? They know where it is. Step 5 is creating clients. In our world, marketing and sale, we just call creating customers. It's 50% of your business, right? Getting customers, or what I call is attacking, is important, but you do need to go down into the numbers and see, okay, like, what's working, what's not, how much is it costing, and then you've got the data to make better strategies moving forward. Again, I'll go through that in a minute. And then step 6 is tracking operations, or defend mode, right? So where creating customers is all about attacking, everything once you get a customer is about retaining that customer. Now, I would love to say that we can train our clients and we train them well enough that they'll leave us and they'll happily go and train on their own. But unfortunately, it's just not reality. Unfortunately, 95% of the clients that leave us will struggle to train on their own, and that's just the way it is. So for me, I'm like, it's our professional obligation to keep clients for their own sake. Okay, for their own sake, to keep them healthy. I think that's massively important. Okay, so let's go through each step in a little bit more detail. Step 1, grab some water here, is how much money do you really need? If you are going to be successful financially in 2023, you've got to know the rules of the game. You got to know your goals, right? The worst answer to this, I want as much as possible, because you can't reverse engineer anything from the back of that. Really, with businesses, you want to know what the end is. Imagine like building a building. You draw the architectural drawings, which is the planning, and then you'll go and build it. Building a business is the same. Okay, for those that say like, okay, I just want to grow as big as I can, they're the ones that struggle the most, if I'm honest with you. Those are the ones who've got like, okay, definitive, I want this much money, I want to get paid this much, I want to do it in X amount of studios, or want to work. They tend to work better because they have a solid plan, and now you can reverse engineer. Actually, okay, let's build it around what you want. a lot of times, like, people don't know how much money they really want. This is another problem, right? So one of the tools we use is called the lifestyle cost analyzer, and it's a very simple game. And it's like, what is the purpose of your business, right? And it's really to support your life. Okay, that's what it's there for, from a financial point of view, from a time point of view, and from a purpose point of view, right? So for this specific exercise, we're just going to use money as the drill, right? So because we find it so difficult at the start for people to get their head around how much money they really need, was like, look, go and write out, like, actually, how much money does it cost you to live your current lifestyle? And that'll be in column 1, right? And then we're like, okay, like, if you want to upgrade your lifestyle to the next level, what would that cost you? And then it's like, what would be a happy days lifestyle? So if your friends ask you how's life, you'll say happy days, man. It's a good place to be financially. Business is doing good. It's paying you enough money, right? And then you have your dream lifestyle, right? Once we get clients to map this out, one thing you find is, like, you probably don't need as much money as you think you need. All right. So in my seminars, when I asked this, like, I had a few people say, one guy said, I want to make 2 million. I was like, all right, cool. Let me write out actually where you're going to spend this 2 million. And when we worked out what he wanted, he only needed like 150 grand a year to live his perfect lifestyle. And that's important, right? Because building a business to support 150 grand versus 2 million are two whole different beasts, right? But then I get back to the point, is what's the point? What are we doing this for, right? And you got to understand, like, what you want out of life first. And then you can build your business to custom for you based on your own desires, right? And again, these are the people that we see to succeed the most, right? The sheet will calculate how much it costs you to live your life. You just put all your numbers there. And again, you guys can download this for free as a tool with instructions. But at the bottom in the blue section, we can kind of have a rough overview. Okay, how big does your business need to be based on your lifestyle cost goals? Okay, so there's a few other metrics that you can put in, but it'll tell us, okay, based on these numbers, this is how many clients you need, this is how many staff you need. Now we've got a rough idea of how big your business needs to be. Okay, now I'd like to finish this section with this one point, is this is not the final destination, it's just the next destination. Okay, so imagine an aeroplane taking off from London, flying to LA, has a certain level of fuel. That's you going from stage 1 in your business to stage 2. Once you get there, which you will if you do things right, then it's like, all right, what's the next destination? And then you just repeat the cycle. Okay, so that's the lifestyle cost analyzer. And it's really important to know upfront how much money do you actually want or need before you start playing the rest of the game, right? Step 2 then is pricing for profitability. So I talked about profit margins a lot, and it's important to remember, when you're a business owner, you're finding a client, pairing them up with a coach to deliver the service. You don't get the whole revenue, you just get a percentage of that, and they're the percentages that we're trying to work with, not the money that you're getting if you're personally delivering the sessions, right? Now, this is the only way to scale up a business, is you're going to have to be the person that pairs up the client with the trainer, and you take your cut, right? One of the systems we use is called the 40-40-20 system. And this is a robust financial system to make sure that your numbers are in check. Okay. Over the years we've been doing this, this is what we see a lot of, and this is what we say. 40% of your revenue is the absolute maximum you can actually spend on staffing. Whether it's subcontract employee, doesn't really matter. But you always want to work out, if my revenue is 10,000 after tax, then the maximum I can spend on delivering that through trainers would be 4 grand, 4,000 at 40%, right? The same is with operating costs. So operating costs are everything else but your training costs, right? And again, 40% is the absolute max. If it goes over 40%, then that's a red flag for us straight away, that it's costing you too much to make that money. We need to make some changes in the numbers, right? By default, that's going to get you 20% net profit, right? Now, the 20% net profit is just there to reinvest back into your business, right? You do not take your salary out of the net profit or your owner's compensation. The owner's compensation actually comes out of the 40% and 40% of servicing and operating. So here's the game, right? Every single percent you can save on or better manage your expenses goes into your pocket. Okay, it goes in. And what that does, it makes you much more aware of your expenses. you know, and like they always say in sports, championships are won on defense, right? Not attack. And it's the same in business, right? It's not how much revenue you're bringing in. It's like, how much is it actually costing you to generate that revenue? And the less it costs you to generate that revenue, the more profit you can make, right? And I'll say 40% is going to be the max, but in our most profitable businesses, staffing tends to be like 25 to 30%, and operating costs tends to be like 15 to 25%, right? But these are the things you have to measure, manage, and make adjustments on to ensure that your business is profitable. What a lot of people do think is, okay, if I get more clients, I'm going to be more profitable. That's not always the case, right? If your numbers as a percentage are wrong, it doesn't matter how many clients you get, right? You're going to end up in the same problem. So a lot of times we would tell businesses not to grow. Be like, let's make it profitable first, and then we grow, and it's much faster that way around. So one of the sheets we use to help our clients figure out what's the optimal pricing versus the cost that you can pay a trainer to deliver that is called the pricing margin calculator. Again, you can download this. The code will come up in a minute. But we've made it easy, right? It's just basically as you start putting in like, okay, what am I going to charge to the customer, and you put in like what's it going to cost me to deliver that session, you'll just get kind of a profit margin, red and green. So in row one, you can see it's a 57% profit margin. Even though it's £20, you don't want to be looking at the £20. You want to be looking at the 57 or 27 or euros, wherever you're at. For me, I'll be looking at 57% margin is not good enough. You're not going to be able to sustain and grow your business at that level. You either pay the trainer less, increase your price, or find a different model to make that work. Otherwise, you will get stuck. You will get stuck 100%, right? The second part of this worksheet is on the right hand side is basically it works out the calendar month price to the customer. This is a problem we see a lot is clients billing on a 4-week cycle rather than the calendar month. And when you do the maths on that of how much income is lost, it's ridiculous. Like it's a wage, it's a salary, right? When you get to like 50, 100 clients, if you're billing them on 4 weeks or giving them breaks, then you end up leaking a lot of money. And with this kind of business, fitness business, it can be great. Like I said, from a purpose point of view, it's brilliant. We get to help people, amazing. But to make money from it, to make it a living from it, every single leak, financial leak has to be taken care of, right? And then you can make a lot of money. You can do, but there's leaks all over the place. And one of the biggest ones is not billing by the calendar month, right? So again, the sheet will take care of all that for you. So if you guys want to download these tools, the lifestyle cost analyzer, the pricing margin calculator, and the financial clarity flow map, just scan that tool. Oh, can you see that? Okay, if you guys just scan that, and that will take you to a page where you can download that. I'm going to give it just 30 seconds on there before I move on. These tools are great just to make you aware of like the numbers and let the numbers guide you on what you actually need to do in your business, right? Okay, I'm going to move on from that slide here to step number 3. So step number 1, you figured out like how much money you actually want or need. Step 2 is you figured out, okay, like what do I need to charge and what can I actually pay staff to deliver that service to make sure I hit my goal, and you'll get a sales goal number from that sheet. But step 3 now is like, okay, do you actually have the business model to actually support your goals? I'm going to tell you a story of a client, right? So a lot of times people think they're full, they think they're busy, and they can't add more to their studio. So what they'll say, I need a second studio or a different profit center. But we find that not to be true, right? Loads of times you can actually squeeze way more profit out of like what you already have than trying to get a second studio. This is an example. The sheet we use for this is called the studio capacity calculator. And this specific client came to us and said, look, he's full. should I open a second studio to hit my goals? And I was like, all right, let's have a look at the numbers and think, okay, do you need a second studio? Because as I said earlier on, it's not about how much revenue you bring in. It's how much does it cost you to get that revenue, right? That's the real skill in making money. So if this guy opened a second studio, the cost would skyrocket. So his profits would be down. But if we could make that money from the same studio, his cost would reduce, profit margins would increase, right? So if you look at the top of the sheet, on the left-hand side is what he started with. And there are 4 acute variables. So for those of you guys who do program design, this is exactly the same like thing as reps, sets, tempo. Like you change one of these variables, it changes the program, but we just do it in business, right? So you got sessions per week, capacity per session, average weekly use, and average client cost, right? You change one of these variables or a few of them, things change, money pops out, right? So he was doing 60 sessions a week. I was like, could you add any more? And he was like, no. And on the coaching session, I was like, I just kept quiet. And then he said, actually, you know what? Maybe if we did this, maybe we did this. And he was able to increase it by 6 or 10%, right? I said, all right, let's try that. I said, could you increase the capacity per session? And he said, no. And I sat there and I said, look, have you ever had a time where like more people have turned up to the session? And he's like, yeah, it happened. And we like people showed up and I goes, did you train them? He goes, yeah. And did any client say anything? He was like, no. I was like, why can't you increase the sessions then, right? And anyone who's been in PT business long enough know this happens. So he said, all right, let me try it and move it to 6. So he improved that by 25%. The average client weekly use, he didn't change. His cost to the customer was £197. I was like, look, could you increase it 10%? He was like, no. And I was like, how do you know? He goes, you don't. I said, okay, so like do this, right? Next time you sell a client onto this program, sell it at 227 and see if they buy. If they buy and enough people buy, then you know the market can tolerate. But you got to try it, right? Don't increase it to your current clients first. Just try it. And he sold it. He got confident. And then he was like, if they're paying 227, why shouldn't my old clients pay 227, right? So he got used to that number and he managed it. Here's the magic, right? The sheet works out like, okay, based on these numbers, how much money can you actually make? And you'll see the yellow, green, and red, and that's just a percentage of how full they are. What I would say to people all the time is like, look, no one ever gets to 100%. So it's in red, right? Even though you can actually make this much money, it's like, or help this many clients. I'd say it's best to plan in the green section, 60 to 85%. And there's enough margin of error there to make sure that you actually hit your goals. But if you look at 85%, in his previous model, he could generate just over £20,000 by just tweaking these numbers a little bit. Look at the number difference, like 38,200 he could generate. He could almost double, and he did not have to have another studio, which would have cost more expense. Now, I talked to one or two at the start of this call. I'm like, look, this is really important to do within your own studio, to think, actually, how can I squeeze the profit sponge? That what else could I get out of what I already have? And just about every single customer we work with or client, we can massively improve what they already have, which then keeps their expenses down and then kind of increases your profit. So I'm just going to go back to the sheet. Like I said, on the left-hand side is about planning. So it's how much money do you really need? Are your margins healthy enough? Where are you on that 40-40-20 system? And then like figure out like, can your current model, whether it be a facility, boot camp, in-home personal training, whatever it is, can it actually support the goals? If not, then you probably want to change this first before you start to play the game of actually getting there. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting your time, right? On the right-hand side, we've got playing. And these are the numbers that you need to track and measure every single week or every couple of weeks, so you know, like, are you on track to hit your goals? No different to your clients tracking calories and measuring their weight or measuring their body fat. It's exactly the same thing. It's just most fitness business owners don't do it like they tell their clients to do it, right? So let's go through this. So step 4 is tracking your financial numbers. I said earlier on, like a lot of business success is doing the unsexy work. And I always say the way to a sexy lifestyle is to do the unsexy stuff in your business, and tracking your financial numbers is one of those boring, unsexy things. But it's absolutely essential. Now, there's loads of things to cover here, but I just want to, just for time, I just want to cover the main thing to cover with tracking your financials. Now, most accountants will just track backwards. Okay, bring all your numbers, and most business owners track backwards, like what actually happened. And that can give you a little bit of data. But really, we want to be tracking in the future, right? Because, and that's called cash flow forecasting. Okay, we want to know, actually, we're in December right now. We would want to know, actually, in March, given your monthly recurring, given the numbers, your sales, given your attrition rate, what would it look like in March? And that's what we track, because really the decisions you make today will affect April, right? If you start to implement something now, like it's not going to work tomorrow, right? You're going to need like 8-12 weeks of time for that to actually work or flourish. And that takes you out of business reactive mode, where you're just putting out fires, and it actually puts you in a much better position when you're forward thinking. And the only way to do that is to cash flow forecast. Second thing for this is basically budgeting. Okay, if you do want to make profit, you have to track, and you have to budget every single expense, track your revenues, as we've said, so you kind of know like what's coming. And that was the issue I had in my own business. Like, I remember I said, like, we had 1 month of good profits and 3 months of bad. I could never do anything in life because I didn't know how much money I had. The way to change that is to measure your financials, and use a spreadsheet or use Zero, but you have to do it. It's something that you have to do, right? Step 5 is tracking client acquisition, or what we call creating clients. This is going to take up about 50-60% of your business, actually, how to acquire customers. If you're like me, I was much more on like, okay, I'm a personal trainer, like I've done all the courses, people should come to me. It doesn't ever happen like that. And when you build a business, it's even worse, right? Because now you've got to feed trainers, and if you don't feed them, they get pretty crazy and mad and either leave. So you kind of have to learn how to get customers, right? There are some core principles in getting customers. Charlie Horton from FMA is going to be talking on Thursday, I think. Highly recommend you listen to that talk. And there's this sales guy as well. He was really good. Highly recommend you listen to both of these guys, because I've heard them and they've got some really, really good insights on how to get customers. For me, teaching you guys, it's not about how to get customers. It's more about looking at the numbers and thinking, okay, like based on the numbers, like where should you be putting your attention into, right? So this is a tracking sheet we use, and the key numbers on this sheet is basically looking at what happens at every step. So when a lead comes in, how many leads do you get? But when a lead comes in, is like, what's the next step in your pipeline or funnel, and like how many people converted over to that stage. So in this example, it would be like, okay, a lead to a qualification phone call, to a consult, to a trial, to a new client, right? So that's the kind of process to take a client down. But it's like at every level, like what's the percentage of conversion? What's the percentage? And that's the key number that you have to measure. Because then you can go back and think, okay, what part should I be working on? In this case here, if you look at the lead to qualification, 75%, qualification to consult is 89%, consult to trial 75%, trial to new client 50%, right? Now, you can't fix your whole business in one go, right? So you really need to know, like, what's the area you need to fix over the next 8 to 12 weeks that's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck in profitability, right? So based on these numbers, I'll be like, right, let's have a look at how your system works from a trial to a new client. And let's just work on that, because that's the lowest. And if we work on that, keep everything the same, and put 100% focus just on that one system, the chances are that's going to improve, and that's going to generate more customers. It's going to generate more profits. That's how you build a business, through the numbers, right? You really got to know at every stage, every process, and then know, like a chemistry set, right? Like you have like a hypothesis, and then you'll do a few tests, and then you'll write it up, and this worked, this didn't work. It's exactly the same when running a business, but you have to know the numbers, the numerical data telling you, right, this is the area where you need to work. Otherwise, it ends up like, you know what it's like when with a weight loss client, they come in and say, well, I haven't lost any weight. I've been eating brilliant, blah, blah, blah. But then when they write it down, they're eating terrible shit, right? And they're lying, but not because they want to lie. It's just they're not aware. And it's the same with your business, right? Everyone I would speak to without measuring the numbers would be like, yeah, I'm making this much money, I'm doing this. I'll give you an example. One of my clients, when I had a call with him, he said he was making like 6-7 grand a month or whatever. I asked him to track it, and he was making 3.5, right? And this happens all the time, right? With every part of the business, because you're just not aware, right? You're just not aware. You're not tracking it. And if you're not tracking it, then you can't make the decisions. All right, this is the area you need to work to ensure that this improves and your business will increase in profitability. And then finally is step 6, which is tracking operations, right? So where creating clients is going on attack. As soon as a customer or client that you have, it's all about retention. So how do I keep the customer? And everything in your business from a service perspective should go with that one goal, right? It's how do I keep the customer for 10 years? I always call it, how do we get a 10-year client? You know, most clients won't go and train on their own as much as I'd like to say that. So it's important for their own sake as well as ours to keep them involved in the program, right? There's no point having good client acquisition if you've got leaks out the back, right? I think the number one thing is like, all right, make sure you improve how you retain customers or the client life value. Again, you would need to track this. Okay, you would need to track on, and I think LegitFit on their software, I think they have this on there, so you can actually see the data if a client leaves, right? So every week, every 2 weeks, you need to look at that and think about, okay, how many clients have we lost, and really why are we losing them? But if you go down a deeper level, is what are they actually getting, and really. The service component, the service of a personal training business is 2 parts. One is your trainer, right? One is your trainer. Like that's going to be the main thing. And second is the system to deliver it. So it's really important to have some KPIs to make sure that all of your coaches are on the ball all the time, right? And they need a kind of a system to follow. I'll give you an example. CrossFit is a great example, right? They have like it or loathe it, doesn't matter, but they have a system, right? They have a way of delivering their workout. So whether if you're in New York, in Dublin, London, it's going to be pretty much the same, give or take the quality of the coach, right? Do you have that in your business? And 9 times out of 10, we find that most don't have a methodology that they're working from. So trainer A is doing something different to trainer B, or they're talking to the client about something which is opposite to what the other person said, and that causes clients to leave. Right? So having that system, and there are like kind of 4 KPIs that we have found to be the best with trainers. Number 1 is how many sessions they deliver. Number 2 is their own individual retention rate. Number 3 is staff development hours. This is key, I think. I know back in the day, the thing that kept me engaged in being a good coach was learning. There was times where I didn't learn, and I could just feel myself going through the motions. I wasn't delivering the best of my ability. So like we make it a key thing that trainers have to study like 1 or 2 hours a day, a week, to make sure that their mind's on the game all the time, right? And then finally is client progress or proof or testimonials. Again, if your coaches can just get 1 WhatsApp or 1 Facebook Messenger or 1 positive comment from a customer, from a client every week, it does 2 things. 1, if the client's telling you it's great, they're not going to leave. Second, it gives you a lot of marketing material. Gives you an absolute ton of marketing material, right? I think that's really, really important to do also. Okay, just to sum this talk up, right? I would say, like, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. It's really important to know numbers for every single section of your business if you truly want to be profitable in 2023. You can't leave this to chance. Like, profit does not happen by chance. It happens through careful strategic planning and carefully managing the numbers, and then looking at that data and then making the decisions off that data. Okay. So if you guys have any questions now's the time you can ask me. So let me just stop sharing my screen here. Okay. Any questions? Or where does the questions come into, Tom?
There haven't been any. What I will quickly just do, in terms of the QR code, if anyone didn't manage to get it, should I just put that link in the chat now?
Yeah.
So you can use that if needed as well. So
Yeah,
I've just popped it down there in the message box, so you should have got a notification. So that's the same link as the QR code that Nicky had in his presentation. So if anyone does have any questions, feel free to put your microphone on now or type them in the box. Nicky, one thing I wanted to ask just quickly before anyone else does, just like owning a business, it's all very daunting, lots of things there. There's probably people here who have been running their business for quite a while and just haven't got a handle on the numbers. Like, where do they even start?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And honestly, don't feel bad. Everyone's the same. I was exactly the same. I didn't know what I didn't know. Here's what I'd say. Just pick one number. It's about more behavior than the whole numbers together, right? So download that sheet first of all, the 6 steps, so you got an idea, and on there it'll give you like the main KPIs. Just measure one for 2 weeks. Measure one for of each section, and then in 2 weeks down the line, measure another one, and that's how you start to build a habit. Like, again, you would do this with your clients all day long with nutrition and exercise. It's exactly the same thing, man. But what most business owners do, they try to do everything at the same time, and that becomes an issue, right? But then they get overwhelmed and it doesn't really sustain in their business, and before you know it, they forgot, right? So the number one metric I would measure would be expenses. Okay, not revenue, it would be expenses, 100%. And that is the most unsexy figure, but it's the one that gives you the most profit, I promise you, right? When you start looking at like where you're spending your money and why you're spending your money, things start to open up and think, all right, this is why every month you're probably just getting by. And we see this a lot, right? So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
I'll jump in with one more as well, just maybe to create some conversation. Just if people are looking to increase those margins, are any quick wins there? Any kind of easy options?
Yeah, really good question, right? So with margins, the easiest but the emotionally most difficult is to increase your prices. Okay, it's definitely the hardest emotionally, but it is definitely the easiest. So the way I would do it is like I showed you with that client, is look, just number one is everyone should create a package or offer which is extortionately priced, or a high level, like the ultimate package, right? Now, you never need to sell it, but it needs to be on your price presentation. And if you think about like car manufacturers as an example, like Mercedes have the McLaren F1, but it makes the 30,000 car look cheaper, and that's really important. To most people will buy one level down, but if you don't have that on your pricing, then people are going to think, oh, your top price is the highest, and they'll buy one level down. So first of all, like, create this super duper package and just present it. I promise you, one person will buy it, and that gets you confident. Second is go and increase your price about 10%, but then go and try to sell it to the market. Don't increase it to your current clients. And what happens is this: once you know, like, and this happened to me on many occasions, once you know the market can tolerate it, then you start to think, okay, if they're paying it, like, why can't everyone else pay it, right? Most people who are paying, let's say if people are paying 150, right, they're not going to be they're not going to care about 170. Okay, they've got the money, they've got them, or 400, they'll pay 450, right? There's not going to make any difference. If it was a financial issue, they wouldn't have been able to pay the 400 in the first place, right? A lot of it is down to confidence in us and our own money issues rather than our client money issues, right? The other way to change your pricing model is change your business model. Change your business model. So I went from one-to-one to semi-private, small group, and I was super resilient to do at the start because of my training, but it was the best thing I ever did, hands down, right? That's the thing which really built my business, was moving from one-to-one to a hybrid model of semi-private and groups, right? Your margins massively increased because the price didn't change that much to the customer, right? As an example, one-to-one PT was about £50. For semi-private was 35 to £40. But I was able to get more people in the same sessions, which increased the margins. Okay. Ian Sullivan, did you raise your hand there? Sorry.
Yeah, I did indeed. A great presentation, Nicky. You got really value from it, so thanks very much for that.
Brilliant.
My question really is just about retention. So, like, in terms of the businesses that you work with, in terms of strategies you put in with them, or ones that you've come across through your experience, what ones you see working best in terms of retention strategies?
Yeah, great question. This is what I'd say with that, right? Most people get tricked into thinking automation does the job. All right. And we're a human to human business, man. And that's honestly, as simple as it sounds, that's the thing what people lose as they start to grow. But that's the thing which helps retain customers the most, is how do you scale with that connection? How do you scale with that human connection and not lose touch with people? And I say like 80% of your service is the service itself. Like if you can do everything within that session when they're in the gym with you, you're fine. You don't need all this extra software and stuff to actually, for the retention part of it, right? For the client management stuff, yes, 100% you need that. But for extra emails or stuff afterwards, people don't really want that, right? So I hope that answers your question, Ian.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Nicky.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Nicky. Thanks, Ian. Did anyone else have any questions for Nicky? No, good stuff. I'm conscious of time, so just want to say kind of big thanks to everyone for joining us, and of course to Nicky for sharing ideas on how you can take steps towards financial success for 2023. Hopefully you're able to join us for the remaining sessions we've got this week. Nicky did mention we've got Charlie from FMA is actually Wednesday, and Ronan, I think you're referring to as well, is on Thursday. And tomorrow we have Alex from Saya, same time, same place. So hopefully you can join us then. We will be doing more LegitFit sessions in 2023. So please stay tuned. If there's any particular topics or anything you'd like to learn about, then do let us know. There will be a survey going around at the end of the week, just a short feedback form on these sessions, so you can let us know via that means if you need to. But otherwise, we will leave it there.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. I'll speak to you later.
So much, Nicky. Really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate Tom for putting this on and LegitFit.
Brilliant. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks.
Thanks all.
Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Cheers, guys.